Miss Lauren, based on the video clips, obviously the children of tribal groups embrace their culture. How do you think these bearers of culture pass on their skills and knowledge to their children?
Great question. Mentoring and all our Gamaba awardees or the Malilika ng Bayan awardees are called such and awarded because they pass on what they know. I hope that we will find it in our hearts to be Gamabas, and I hope that our indigenous communities would have more of these people who would pass on the age-old tradition of weaving, the age-old tradition of doing crafts. But not just that, but even in the spoken language, in the written form, also in terms of the ritual. So your question is, how do we ensure that the young actually learn what their forebears know?
Yes.
That's why we're documenting it. That's why, apart from documentation, we have schools of living tradition, not just to document for television or for online, for the digital media, but also empowering, giving assistance, giving financial assistance, technical assistance to communities so that they could have the tools, the resources to teach their children and their communities what they know before they pass on to the next life. So, dayaw and documentation on television and online is just really a speck in the whole spectrum of work we do. Let's say this USB ang laman nito. This is the USB of our shows, and we're all giving it to you. This is, for example, a hard copy of Everyday Culture, a book that I also supported, I cost to publish with Karina Bolasco, which are, again, documentation of schools of living tradition, but very limited because how much can you put in a book? But aside from documenting it on USB, documenting it hard copy book, documenting it for Dayaw TV, we have actual schools of living tradition from Cordillera to autonomous region. As I speak now, NCCA and its NGO partners actually are teaching, passing on, and mentoring traditions of our indigenous people. So television is just one avenue. Uploading it online is just another avenue. Actual teaching is happening now, right? We've sustained that. And I'm proud to say, when we started Dayaw, I innovated on the national budget. NCCA used to be a well-meaning agency with the least budget. But now, we started it in 2015, they have more than they can chew, right? Or can you chew it? You can. Yeah. So they're supported. Maybe Susan can explain ano ba yung, kasi hindi naman, ano ba yung nagaganap na School of Living Tradition na hindi natin, let's say, what's an ongoing SLT program? Or even if it's not SLT, what are the outreach programs of the NCCA that can pass on one generation to the other?
Actually, the NCCA has been supporting the schools of living traditions nationwide. So we have over, as far as I can remember, over 500 existing schools of living traditions from north to south, which are very successful. So we support them by setting up the schools, literally their schools, and then we also the stipend of this Gawan sa Malilikan ng Bayan Award is also the stipend form part of also the training that help them to transfer also this knowledge to the younger generations. So aside from that, we usually allot a big chunk of our competitive grants budget to support projects of similar nature, which supports also from dance to the craft training and the transfer And also we give also support to the master craftsmen. So we also provide them assistance in the transfer of this knowledge to the younger generation. So it's basically, sabi nga ni Ma'am, it's just aspect talaga of supporting, no? This indigenous culture na hindi po siya mawala. So apart from documentation, we also, kasi that is part of the grant. So they have to document, they have to transfer, they have to have graduates in this SLP. So you can go to Pagadian in the Lake Cebu, the Cordilleras. So this is the role of the NCCA, and so with this master craftsmen that we provide assistance so that we can see to it that this traditional culture will not just pass away without transferring to the younger generation.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. I'm glad that you mentioned that. So our role is not just to document. The more important role is to propagate, sustain, and conserve. Para maski mawala na tayong lahat, in 20, 50 years, nandyan pa rin sila at ang kanilang ginagawa sa kanilang kultura.
Ma'am, have you authored a bill or a law, or did you pass a law regarding that subject or that matter about our culture and preserving our culture and heritage?
The Heritage Act, does the Heritage Act cover it? Heritage Act is more for structures, but perhaps the Heritage Act is part of it, but it's not indigenous culture, no? Let me see. I filed a bill for the creation of, we call it folk art museums. That was my Senate bill, but I changed the term not to folk art museums. I forget the title of the bill, for mandating every local government to set up traditional, I think I called it in my lower house bill, traditional arts museum in every locality, in every local government. And second, ito pa lang, since I chaired the budget 4 years ago, we put funding in cultural mapping. What is cultural mapping? We have geographical maps. How do you map culture? You go to a place and you get to know what they speak, what they eat, what they wear, where the wind blows, how the sun rises, where, and chismis, even chismis, what happens, their forebears and ancestors, the biodiversity, flora and fauna, lahat. Mula chismis hanggang siyensya, hanggang mga katutubo, hanggang kinaugalian. And so, cultural mapping is mandatory in DepEd, and the teachers are taught how to be cultural mappers. And the NCCA is also doing cultural mapping, no? With local governments. And I think I filed a bill mandating that that LGUs must do cultural mapping in their areas.
And last na lang po.
With maganda mga tanong mo, okay lang. Hindi pa last.
With the show now on its 7th season, what for you is the best and toughest parts of working on that kind of show?
I think the challenge of the team is really the physical tiredness of literally crossing mountains and rivers and oceans and meeting the deadlines, because there's also a deadline for obligation of funds in government. It's the physical tiredness. In terms of the interest, they love it. I think so. In terms of the topics, endless. In terms of our energy and our passion, we just love the show. I look forward to all my shoots. My frustration is I can't be as agile as I was in 86 when I did Pep Talk, even in 1990 when I did Inside Story, because at the time, it was my full-time job. But here, this is actually a pro bono job for me. So, and as you know, I'm in government and I'm in a legislature. So that's my frustration. Whenever I see the photos or the video Oh, Tony, ang ganda naman yan. Ba't hindi niyo ako sinama? Ma'am naman, sabi niya, pwede naman kayo sumama. Yan, hindi ako makasama. I love to go to all those places and conduct the interviews myself and produce it. So that's my frustration. I'd love to be there.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bud. Our next